Hello, good evening, and welcome everybody, ladies and gentlemen, to our open forum for potential students at the College of Practical Homeopathy. We've been around since the late 80s, and we've been leading homeopathic education since the 1990s. So we've got a wealth of experience here, and we've had thousands and thousands of students all around the world currently practicing. My name is Som Jandu. I'm one of the directors at the college. I was also a student here. And the lady at the top left of your screen is Ellen Kramer, who is the founder of this college. She's a global speaker, and we're pleased that she's still alive and teaching us this. And as I always say with Ellen, your greatness will be known, Ellen, once you've expired. Once you're around, let's tap into your brain and learn what we can. So that's us. We have a reason for existing, ladies and gentlemen. Our main mission, one, is we want to become the global leader in practical homeopathic education. What that means is we're not really interested in the theories. We don't want you to memorize books and be a walking encyclopedia. For people who really want to help people heal, we will teach you that in many, many ways to get hands-on and get stuck in with cases. Therefore, we don't have exams in any of our courses. They're all assignment-based and patient-based. So for those who get exam nerves, you don't get them here. They're case after case, which gives you the time to think, reflect, speak to your tutors, and see how you want to help people heal. Our other mission is to make learning practical homeopathy efficient and affordable. Efficient means you can do it as quickly as you want to. We don't draw it out over years and years. If you want to progress quickly, you can study as fast as you want to. And we will support you every step of the way. What is our vision is to have CPH practical homeopaths in every country to help you heal wherever you are. And we'll show you a footprint of many of the countries where we already exist. So you have people who you can talk to and speak to if you're undecided as yet as well. And you can see that we really do have a global reach. Not a lot of colleges can say that. And what are our values? We share what we learn as we learn it. As we say here, if we've written a book and you buy the book, it's already out of date the moment it's in print. So when we learn with our patients and through our students, we share them learnings with you as you progress. So you always stay current and up to date, and you're not studying an ancient, antiquated system 300-400 years ago, which doesn't apply to people like us in this modern world. This is from our website, so I won't go into all the details here. We're very proud and very humbled at the same time to become a leading institute for training, and we've achieved a number of world firsts. We're the first college in the world to provide professional homeopathic qualifications. You get licensed and qualified by studying here, not just a certificate to say you've completed a course. You're able to practice, and I think at the last count, about 150 countries. We're the first UK college to be recognized and credited for practitioners in Europe, the Middle East, North America, Africa, and the Asia Pacific, most of the continents, and now also Australasia. So we're expanding all the time. And we're the only homeopathic school to be accredited by the prestigious British Accreditation Council. They assess independent colleges for standards. No other college in the UK has met that standard except us. And we've had that for around 17 years. And we're validated under a general quality assurance and validation scheme for all homeopathic course providers forums in the UK. So we're very proud. So people who enroll here have a sense of pride of being here with us, to say we're getting a first-class education at a small college who makes it affordable and achievable for us. And we offer year-round homeopathic study. So there's no term times. You start when you feel it's right for you in your lifestyle. And there's another phrase that you may learn with us. We're the first in the world to teach holistic homeopathy. And we will cover that later on. Excuse me. This is our footprint around the world. We're in many, many countries. I just didn't have the patience to make lots of circles and spheres, but in most of the countries, we are there, and we're expanding all the time. We literally can't keep the dots up quick enough. So if you're anywhere positioned, you'll know you can contact us. If you ever want to get treated by a homeopath, we will have a CPH qualified homeopath somewhere near you. We have two courses which we'll cover. We have a postgraduate course for existing healthcare professionals and licensed practitioners, doctors, nurses, alternative healthcare people. And we have the professional training course for people who know nothing about healthcare and want to become a professional homeopath. And the ratio is almost half and half now. So it doesn't matter. And that's a nice mix of people who have knowledge, people who don't have knowledge, and our study groups, they share with one another to create a very supportive environment and a learning and sharing culture. If you enroll with us, our qualification also entitles you to use the letters LCPH after your name, and no one can ever take them away. That means you're a licentiate of the College of Practical Homeopathy, and that is worth its weight in gold anywhere in the world, as our students tell us when they practice around the world. On the left-hand side, we have a professional training course. It's at a degree level. It's a 3-level course over 30 modules, and it takes someone from knowing nothing to getting a certificate, a diploma, and then their license in being a professional homeopath. On the right-hand side, we have the postgraduate licentiate course. It's at a master's degree level, and it's a 12-module course. It's for people who are already existing healthcare practitioners or graduates from biological sciences who have a background in anatomy and physiology and know the basic workings of the body. We support that, as you can see in the middle slide, but not just homeopathy. We teach flower essences, meditative provings. Some of you may not even heard of these things. Bowel no-sows, very important in this day and age. We teach the tissue salts. We also teach herbs, nutrition, and supplements to nourish and support the body. So in some countries, this kind of qualification will confer the honor of a naturopathic doctor. We just call it homeopathy. It covers everything. So our homeopaths do not go on afterwards to do other courses elsewhere. They get everything they need to practice competently and confidently when they leave us. The other thing we have is when people graduate from us, we never really let them go. They stay part of our family for life. So every time we learn, they continue to learn at no extra cost. So it's a one-off cost and you have a lifetime of learning. We don't charge for courses 6 months down the line. If there's something we want to share, if you're a graduate from us, you belong with us. So you go on that journey, so you get your continuing professional development for the rest of your life, or as long as we as a college still exist. That's the summary there. We don't have a start date or term time. If you're ready, when you're ready, you start. If life gets in the way, you can take a break if you let us know. We factor that into the courses anyway, because otherwise we will burn out. You enroll and you download your lessons. It's not an online course. You own your lessons. We've painstakingly created these to save you thousands in buying books. So the course itself, if you print it out, you'll have a volume, 30 volumes on the professional training course in folders. And that's better than any book you'll ever get. When we read a book, the book does not give us a license to practice. It just gives us a bit of knowledge. Here you get the knowledge and you get qualified. If you enroll with us, you get a dedicated personal tutor who does a one-to-one tuition with you. That differs from a classroom setting because your tutor tailors your learning to your specific needs and you go at your pace. Not in a classroom where the tutor just delivers their curriculum and you're left wondering, I've got gaps, I have questions, how do I fill them? Nothing else in the world will give you that personal development tailored to your unique skills and gaps. There are no exams. You qualify by submitting actual real-life grad cases and seeing your patients progress towards health. To support that, we have student clinics, both physically in London and virtually like this, Zoom, around the world, that we hold regularly, bi-monthly. And that is when you present your own cases back to us for supervision and guidance. So you really do feel like practitioners from day one. You don't wait till the end and you get your qualification to take your patients. We actively encourage you to get hands-on, hence the word practical. We have webinars, we have audios and videos to enhance your learning. So even though you might be around the world, you're never really alone. We have social media groups, we have study groups, we have study buddies and mentors. So you can be as actively involved or as disengaged as you wish. And all of our tutors are qualified from us, so we know the materials you study. They're not external guest speakers who don't know what you're studying. We've all been through that system. We've all done the exams. So we know exactly what you're going through. And we're the right people to guide you through it. That's just a summary of the things that we cover on our course. No other course, as far as we're aware, gives you that integrated, holistic, immersive experience in becoming a practical homeopath. So now we're going to open it out to the floor for any questions, if anyone has any. You can scan the QR code on the side to access our website. You have the website address there. You have my personal email at the bottom. If you wish to contact me later, please take a note of that, screenshot it, save it. And if you want a general inquiry, please contact admin directly at the CPH, and our admin department will be happy to answer any questions, send you an information pack, or even if you want to talk to myself or Ellen one-to-one without this forum. Now I'm going to stop and wait for questions, but before I do, Ellen, is there anything else you'd like to say to this?
Yeah, what I'd like to say is welcome everyone for taking some time to be here and ask us questions. I'm the lady who wrote the course. Some of the things that you get in your lessons are from personal experience. This is not somebody's book that I took it from. This is my clinical experience and a gift to those who choose to study with us. Each lesson guides you in what you need to do to observe and the sort of things you add to supporting your patients if they are malnourished or unable to absorb nutrition, etc. So when you're learning, you don't realize that you're actually integrating nutrition and herbs as you go along. And I was Som's tutor, and he said to me when he first started, do I need to go off and do a course in nutrition? And I just laughed, but I always laugh. So I said, no, I don't think so. I think by the time you finish, you will be competent to direct your patients nutritionally and with supplements. And in fact, that's what he found. So this is learning. You see, the best teachers are actually patients. And having somebody to guide you in observing and learning from your patient is the best way of learning. So
Stop it.
I'm going to leave the floor up to you guys to ask me any questions. I've noticed that we do have some of our students here as well. So they're the best people also to add to this discussion as well, because they're in the process of experiencing it. So thank you very much for some of the students who've actually joined us this evening. Any questions? Silence. Oh, maybe someone did such a good presentation, there's nothing to ask.
I've got a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm curious how I'm trying to understand practically, if I was to do the course, what does it look like? Like, for example, my mum has arthritis at the moment. She's just been diagnosed with arthritis. If I have no knowledge of biology and the body, how would I know how to help her? Even though I may learn about homeopathy in the course, but I'm guessing you don't learn biology in the course, or don't?
Yes, you will, as an undergraduate doing the professional training, we will guide you from the cells right the way to the whole body. So as an undergraduate, you will learn the body, but not only that, you'll also learn the energetic system. You see, because, you know, arthritis is for every single person is very individualized. Okay, it's not like here's arthritis and here are the homeopathic remedies. So
Right.
You will learn how to take a case and you'll learn how to analyze that case and what is going on for the person whose case you're taking. So your mother would be a great patient, because in module 3 of the undergraduates, you do case taking, and she would be a great person to take the case, because then your tutor, once you've taken the case, your tutor will guide you to understand, even if you haven't got there in the training, just by having somebody who's bringing up things for you to look at and observe, your tutor will guide you in your understanding until you get to the musculoskeletal system. but there are also mental, emotional things that go with it. You see, depending on where the arthritis is, etc., etc. So you're, as an undergraduate, you will learn from scratch, and you will have an understanding of human health and the human body better than any GP.
Interesting. Okay, because I know right now I just use a book to help me
Find remedies.
Yes. So
Okay.
I'm guessing that's not where I'll come out at the other end
No.
after 3 years.
No, you definitely, you're not going to come out that way. You will come out with a deeper understanding, because you will learn to apply homeopathy in 15 different ways. So when you take a book and you look up arthritis and you look at the main arthritis remedies like rouge tox and bryonia, that's what we call therapeutic prescribing. It means that you don't know anything about the patient,
right,
where they've come from, why they've got arthritis. You don't know any of that. What you're doing is looking for a remedy to make those symptoms better, but you'll often find that it doesn't work, and it may work sometimes, it doesn't hold, because the symptoms keep coming back. And that's where I started homeopathy, because I had asthma and I was taking remedies and they really helped me. But then I realized that actually there was something else going on for me. And so I went to study at CPH, you see. So then I began to understand my chronic ill health and why it was there. So you're going to learn from scratch anatomy, physiology, and pathology. You will learn observational skills. You will learn to read the language of the body. You see, so, you know, the minute somebody says to me, arthritis, I'm immediately thinking in my head, cause. What's the underlying cause for the arthritis? Because I know the biosuit is designed to be healthy. All right. So when it's out of balance, it's going to produce symptoms. So I'm a detective. I want to know why. Now, the causes of getting arthritis could be quite simply, your mother went on a course of antibiotics. It trashed all her gut flora. It pulled out all the minerals. This is why you need to learn nutrition. Okay. So once it's pulled out all the minerals and you've got a magnesium deficit and potassium deficit, and you're very acidic, it's going to go, the body will put the problem in joints that fit her mental, emotional issues that she's not dealing with. So you're going to learn all about that.
Okay. I'm sold. I'm sold. Thanks.
It's beyond the book, as some said. If you buy a book, you just bought a £25 book. That's all.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
nice
Yeah.
practice.
No, I understand that. It's just hard to visualize, understand, to go from that to where I would go in 3 years. But you've explained it beautifully. Thank you.
But the other thing is, this is why we've decided to have the open forums, so that we can properly explain things. So I know on our website we have, you know, frequently asked questions, but it doesn't round off, you know, what you're thinking in your head when somebody else explains it to you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'll mute myself again.
I have a question. Hi, Ellen and
Sam.
Sam.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
One second, sorry. Before we answer your question, can I just address a few comments on that one as well, please?
Yeah. Okay.
Just to round that one off, and please hold that question. When we get a diagnosis from someone like arthritis, remember it's a label of symptoms, a collection of symptoms that doctors give to a patient. Then the patient carries that label around. I have arthritis. I am a celiac. No, you're not. That's the first thing. Second thing is, what we teach you is to understand how the person arrived at that state. So arthritis is what they may have. What we teach is, how did they get there? So you study someone going from wellness to illness and all of the processes that go along the way. So you don't need to know biology, but the anatomy, the physiology, how the body's structured, how it works, and the pathology, how it goes wrong. We teach you in an integrative way that is relevant to the disease that you will study as you go through the course, module by module. So you will have a better knowledge than a consultant, a neurologist, an osteopath, a nutritionist, all in one. So you can learn and understand what the people come to you with their medical reports. Then you'll put them to a side and say, right, now let me show you another way to restore your health. That's the way we'll teach it here. So we say, please don't try and run after a symptom and say, I got to treat this label. Forget the label. How did the patient get there? And we'll give you tools to equip you so you're always confident and never lost. So that's something to remember. Hope that just adds that to keep it general. An itis for everybody else, rhinitis, sinusitis means inflammation. That's an easy one. Sorry, whoever was speaking then, thank you for that. I realized that my microphone was on mute while Ellen was talking, so I was waving my hands and I couldn't get a word in, but there you go. So whoever the person was about to answer the question, please do, we're listening.
Thank you. Sorry to have interrupted you. So I have I guess, a two-part question. Someone's loud. Regarding second appointments with clients or patients, the first appointment, very often in my own practice so far, I've been very lucky to nail many things the first time around. So that's great, but in a way, it doesn't facilitate learning how to uproot conditions, uproot from the root, you know? And I guess the background I've come from in homeopathy thus far has sort of taught me to expect maybe an improvement or a big improvement, but not a complete uprooting cure. And that's one of the things that led me to you. I feel like I'm more likely to get that here. So question, I guess, how often are you able, how many appointments, I know there's gonna be a range, how many appointments does it often or typically take to achieve big improvement? How long does it take to achieve a complete cure, a total uprooting of an issue, and how often does that happen?
2 words, it depends on the patient. 3 words, 4 words.
Yes. I mean, honestly, it does depend on the patient, and there are factors. Okay, now for every year, every day that the patient has been taking an allopathic drug, you need to add a year to them getting better. Okay, particularly steroids. All right, so this is why our little ditty is cause, effects, and obstacles to cure. The patient may come to you with asthma after their mother died, and you can quite clearly see that it's ailments from grief. But if they've spent 15 years on steroids, then I'm looking at 5 years of unraveling that case. That's just a guideline to me. But in fact, the reality is a lot of people get healthier much quicker than they got sick. So most people don't realize the warning signs and they're getting sicker and sicker. And it may take them 10 years to sit in front of you. And by that time, they've actually been to every single doctor and come to you as a last resort. That's what I get. I'm the last resort when all things have failed. And so it's a slow, steady process, but every month things disappear. And in fact, I do a review on my patients after a year, and I find that they've moved on from a lot of the symptoms they came originally to see me. And I have to remind them. And they say, oh yeah, I did get headaches, but they're gone. Okay. So it really depends on what's presented to you. If you were to go to Africa, to the outreach clinic, where people aren't exposed to drugs, they're eating local foods, you can give a remedy and see a miracle in front of you. I've watched patients sit in front of me with malaria, and you pop the indicated remedy in their mouth, and they've got the rigors and their temperatures, 40 degrees, and they're really ill. You put the remedy in their mouth and you see their temperature just drops. The rigors stop. They may throw up, they may lie down and sleep for half an hour, but when they leave the clinic, they leave and all their symptoms have gone. So those are, you know, that's what you'll see in a healthy constitution. But if you're dealing with Western constitutions that are exposed to a lot of drugs, toxicity, trauma, then you're going to, that's why we teach you timelines and how to unravel the case so that you have an idea of where you want this patient to go. We teach you observation skills so you can make a prognosis for each appointment of where you want the patient to go. So it's increment by increment. And we have some patients in the student clinic that have been coming for about 3 or 4 years, and we can't believe it's the same person. They've got better. Other things have come up. We can't believe that that is the same person that's sitting in front of us that came 3 years ago, who was depressed, angry, all they talked about was their symptoms, Okay, so really, they say patience, but as a practitioner for modern patients, you need to learn patience. But if you don't know where you're going, if you don't understand the language of the body, you're going to be fearful and you'll be all over the place. But once you actually do your case analysis, you know what needs curing, you know what your obstacles are, you know which key organs aren't functioning and what nutrition they need. You've got a plan and you can guide that patient towards health. And so when things come up that you weren't expecting, i.e. they were on an antidepressant 10 years ago, and suddenly that antidepressant shows itself. When you ask your patient, have you ever had this symptom before? Because they think it's the remedy that's done it. They say, oh yeah, when I was on my antidepressant, I had this side effect. Then you go, great, we're getting better. Now I need to clear the antidepressant because the body told me that. So it's a process. I don't know if that's helped you, Lisa.
Yes, it has. I think one of the, maybe you just shed light on something. One of the reasons maybe that I've been lucky is because all of my clients so far come from the medical freedom community. They already avoid allopathy. So that's a good start. So
Yeah,
maybe
it's very good.
that's why. But I do want to be able to help clients who've been deeply steeped in allopathy. So thank you.
What we say, Lisa, is, and to everybody else listening, people will come to us and say, how soon can I get better? The first response is, I don't know, it depends on you. Because if I don't have any drugs in me, I'm a person who got unwell, you study me, you can help me reverse myself and restore my health. Great. So I'm going to be an easy patient and a quick win and a success story. But if you've had multiple drugs, you're on asthma, you're on steroids, you may have had the pill, we have to unravel all this mess to get down to the real person you are and all the side effects that they've done to change your body chemically, to change your body physically. If you're on an antidepressant, you're on mind-altering drugs. So who's the real person in front of us? So that person might take longer. So we say it's a very personal journey because the person got themselves from being well to being unwell, and they took things along the way, or they may not have. Then to unravel them, we will hit milestones on their way. We call that a return of old symptoms. Oh, you've done this to me, and all my eczema's flared up, and I never had eczema before. What are you doing to me? Have you ever had it before? Yes, I had it when I was 7 years old. Good. You're now 40. I've just taken you back 33 years. Now we're getting somewhere. Celebrate, because that too will pass. So the patient will see themselves reversing their journey towards health. And when you have the confidence to say that, rather than, oh my gosh, all your eczema's come back from 30 years ago. If you're going back in time, you're seeing it as a sign saying, hello, eczema, let's get back to where we were. So one of the things we always say, as the lady who asked us about the arthritis, symptoms are the signs of the body. That's it. If we give medicines to stop the signs, we stop listening to the body. We suppress it. Disease is the dialogue of the body. So what we've got to do is listen to it, say, what are you trying to tell me? You've been screaming at me. For example, with arthritis, I take a painkiller. After a few months, my arthritis is still there, so the doctor gives me a stronger painkiller. Then he gives me a steroid. Then he gives me an injection. Because the body's saying, why are you not listening to me? I'm going to make the pain more intense until you finally pay attention to how I got here. Then if my joints go, the doctor says, we're going to replace you with a spare knee or a spare hip. Really? Then the body says, right, I'm not listening to you anymore. I'm going to make the other knee go until you pay attention to what the cause was. So when we suppress with medicine, it's like a slinky spring. You squeeze it down. Blood pressure is a great example. I've got blood pressure, give me a medication. We lower your blood pressure. But if you take the medicine away, the blood pressure goes back up. So you haven't treated me, you haven't cured me, you're just shutting my body up for 20, 30 years. But then now I'm a chronic drug abuser because for 20, 30 years, that drug is having a long lasting effect. I'd rather go and have a glass of whiskey every week. It'll have less damage than inhalers and steroids every single day for 30 years. So we don't understand this. We think it's safe. Oh, it's medicine. Is it really? It's a drug, just like cocaine is and alcohol. But I take it on a daily basis, 3 times a day, regimented. Imagine that. We're walking along, we're dealing with drug addicts. Imagine that. So we've got to help them that way. So you see how we think. And when you think this way, and people say, yes, I don't want to be on this medication anymore. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I want to be well. Good, now let's help you. That's the kind of process that we go through, that we teach. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Any other questions from anybody else who may be on
What
here?
about in the chat?
Yeah, we've got a question. Somebody says, is the tuition for we've got a couple on fees, which I've addressed in the chat, and you can pick that up anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's asking about how much time should we spend. That's been addressed in the chat as well. A couple of hours a week, 10 to 20 hours per module, depending on your own pace of learning. Some people read it once and get it. Some people read it and revise, make notes from notes. So you go at your own pace. And that's the beauty. You are in charge of your learning journey. Another question that's just come up now. Someone said, is the tuition for non-medical students the same? Now I'm just going to address the word tuition. The course, we have 2 courses. Medical students, of which we have many. We have many doctors training, and most of them come to myself or Ellen personally as well, because we can undo the stuff they've got in their head and then redo it. I myself am from medical training in the allopathic world over 30 years ago, so I get the training they've had. And first we got to empty their cup before we can fill it with sense, shall we say. So is the training the same? No, but the course gets you to the same point, both courses, but how they get you there is different. Because if you're a qualified healthcare professional, you don't need as much anatomy and physiology and pathology because you should already know it. So the people on the professional training undergraduate course do a longer course, a more in-depth course, because they learn every single element from the start. But people who are already existing professionals or have a sciences degree can bypass that and get straight onto cases. But some of our people will say, we don't want to bypass that. We actually want to study it properly, and they choose the 3-level course. So is the tuition the same? The end result is the same. Your tuition depends on your learning because you have a personal tutor. The course materials are slightly different, but they're more similar than they're not, because you learn the same methods, you learn the same outcomes, you learn the same case analysis, whereas the undergraduates learn the anatomy and physiology that goes around that more, and the professionals don't. That's the only difference. Ellen, is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, well, actually, when you're studying your module, unlike other trainings that box things up into separate bits, when we teach you the heart, not only do we teach you, this is the undergraduates, the anatomy, physiology, and pathology, we'll also teach you the emotions that go with the heart, the big heart remedies. Your assignments will be around that particular topic. So it's not, when I studied, we learned anatomy in year 1 and year 2, and then the pathology in my final year. And then when you got back to the heart pathology, I couldn't quite work out where it all linked. You see, so with this, it's integrative in the sense that you'll learn everything on that particular topic, but it will also get you to reflect to the previous module, as well as doing assignments that make you use the information that you're learning. So what we want to do is to get you to use the information. So all the information for your assignments is actually in the module. And you don't have to, look elsewhere. It is actually all there for you. But what we want you to do is we want you to use that information. And even better still, use the information when you see your own patients. That's why we allow you to download it, and and it's yours. You can look at them. Each lesson, I'd say, is like a mini book. I don't know if there's people who are ahead who are sitting in at the moment and can see just how much you have to print.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. We have no more questions on the chat, just a general question about fees again. And I put that generally, I said, if you want the fees, send an email to either admin or directly to myself. We will send you the information pack and you can read it at your leisure. It will tell you the fees and how you can pay. You can pay in full at a discounted rate, or you can even pay in monthly installments. I'm going to cover that a bit because not everybody has a lump sum to pay. The monthly installments allows you to earn while you learn. And let me explain that. One, it's easier on your cash flow. Second, because we're a practical college and we actively encourage you to take your own patients, after the first module or two, when you learn the language of homeopathy and learn how to do a dry run on a case taking, you're free to trade your cases. You tell people, I'm a student homeopath, I have a qualified tutor who will supervise my case, I want to take your case. You can start charging people a student fee rather than a full professional fee. That can help subsidize your course. What it also does, it helps you to build your experience, your confidence, and your reputation. So when you do graduate, you've got a ready pool of successful patients. I don't call them clients, I call them patients, because you have to be patient to get well. And the patient helps them think like a medical person is how they perceive you. If you say client, they might perceive you like a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant, a discretionary service. If you call them your patient, they have a psychological attachment to you as your patient, that doctor-patient relationship and confidentiality. So I'd encourage you to have a think about how you relate to your people when you practice. But back to the fees, when you have that pool and people hear you and say, how are you going to make money if you treat me and I don't come back? My answer to them used to be when I was a student here, you're going to tell 100 people, you're going to tell all your friends. Yes, I am. Good. So that's how you build up your business as well. So you can earn while you learn, which is a great way. Rather than waiting 3 years, you have a certificate, but nobody knows about you. And if those of you are a bit savvy with social media, you can start tweeting and Facebooking and Instagramming people and success stories. Just say, look, another patient successfully treated with arthritis or eczema. That will generate inquiries. Or whatever, can you do it for me? Of course I can. Book me in. So this gives you that confidence to go out in the world. As we're talking to you through Zoom, you're not even restricted by the country or state you may be in. You can have patients anywhere in the world. The world is literally your oyster here. The beauty of homeopathy, if I'm a chiropractor, I have to touch you. If I'm an acupuncturist, I have to see you. The COVID helps homeopaths because we can treat people like this anywhere in the world without them being in our office and without us getting hands-on with them. It's a wonderful system of medicine to use. Any other questions from anybody else?
I think we had a couple of questions about aggravation, I think, in the chat.
Not this one, Ellen. I've had a question here. Someone says, are Banerjee protocols taught in practical homeopathy? Do you want to answer that or do you want me to? Then
You
we'll
can
get
answer it,
to
Son.
I'll answer it. Okay. In a word, no. I'll tell you why. I say that quite firmly. We teach you how to think freely here. If we tell you to follow a protocol, are we actually teaching you anything or just saying, here's a protocol, use it, do it yourself? The simple example, I learned how to cook. So if I'm going to watch a master chef cook and watch them, I'm going to learn techniques so I can learn to cook myself. And when I can, I might mess around with the recipe and create my own unique thing. I'm a practitioner. But if I just buy a recipe book, all I'm doing is following someone else's. And another thing with a protocol is anti-homeopathy. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. The principle of homeopathy, as we discussed with the lady I can see now with your mother with the arthritis, every patient has a unique journey of their journey from wellness to illness. But if I say you fit a protocol, what I'm saying is you don't matter. Your journey doesn't matter. How you got unwell doesn't matter. Just might as well give me an aspirin. I've got a headache. But what caused my headache? So protocols do not individualize medicine. They don't address the cause. They only treat the effect. The other example is if I get a fruit off a tree and it's a rotten fruit, I treat the tree to bear better fruit. Cause. So protocols don't teach causes at all. So why would we, who empower you to be practical homeopaths, teach you protocols that disempower you? So hopefully that answers that. No, we don't. And I don't think we're going to either. We teach you how to make your own protocols for your own patients as you see fit.
I just want to add, for those of you who listen to the webinar on acne, you will see that with all my webinars and all the lessons and things, I give you ideas of where the fundamental cause is as to why those symptoms are there, whether it's mental, emotional, whether it's toxicity, and that's to guide people to look and ask the right questions from their patients. You see, so what we want is thinking people that think for themselves, because I'm not going to live forever. I will go. But if you don't know how to do this for yourself and expand your mind and take us to homeopathy to another level, what's the point? You know, as I love Hahnemann, but there's no point in me doing Hahnemannian prescribing because it just wouldn't work for 21st century patients. So if we're teaching people to mimic something, how do you progress the profession? You won't. I'm here and I wrote this course because I didn't take any notice of anybody. I took notice of my patients. They were my teachers. And I found that most of the stuff I was taught at college didn't work. It didn't work. But what I did do was I looked at my patients and I saw that Hahnemann gave us 7 aphorisms in the 6th organon. And it boiled down to this: cause, effects, and obstacles to cure. Find the cause. We can see the effects of the cause. Now, what's the obstacle to that body healing itself? And that got me thinking. And I saw that it was a pattern with everybody. There's always an underlying cause. Now, there are now many, many obstacles to that cause. The drugs people are taking, the foods they're eating, the water they're drinking, the air they're breathing, what they're using in work. You know, so when we had a case of a gentleman who was diagnosed with MS, but actually he'd been a roofer from the age of 14, and he'd been dealing with lead, and he was now 44. So what's the cause? Well, we could see what the cause was. We couldn't find any mental emotional. So I said, okay, this is lead poisoning. Let's detox him. Because of that detox, this man sent so many patients to my student practitioner. He actually made her practice, and she was a student. In fact, I bumped into her the other day when I took my granddaughter swimming, and she said, and I reminded her of that case, and she said to me, yeah, he was my best patient. He sent me so many other patients because his MS disappeared, and all we did was detox him from lead. Okay, so we need to be able to observe. We need to learn how to analyze the case and have many tools to remove obstacles. And that's what we teach you, how to remove obstacles. We're not here to fix people. We're here to guide them to heal themselves. That's what we do. The body heals itself. The remedies support that process. It's the most powerful system of medicine. There's no other medicine that can remove drugs out of the system the way homeopathy can. It's just that most homeopaths don't know they can do it. They have no idea because they're stuck on constitutional prescribing. Okay, but you know, do I care what they think? No, I don't. You stay there. Yeah. I'm teaching people to be independent thinkers and great practitioners. That's my mission.
And I'm going to add to that. You know, I get asked a lot of questions online, offline, with all the emails that everyone sends me every day because my email's on the page. People say, what about classical homeopathy? Classical homeopathy, there's something I want to say to people. Classical homeopathy was founded by Samuel Hahnemann about 300 years ago. He was a doctor, so he learned the Newtonian method of physics, biology, and the body. The body's of components, you can chop it, cut it. But as we know, when you create a human being, Two cells from mum and dad get together and the body produces from one cell into a whole human being. So every cell can do everything else. That's the first thing. So it's not meant to be compartmentalized and separated. I'm a neurologist, I'm a cardiologist. We're humanists. That's what we are. Treat the body as one. Holistic, treat the body as a whole. The other thing is, they say, well, what about classical homeopathy? Well, that was invented at a time even before aeroplanes existed. So in this modern world, where there was no kerosene, no aeroplanes, no Wi-Fi, no pesticides and herbicides, then people were different. No one's having KFC and pizzas every day at McDonald's. So no one's with 5G Wi-Fi bombarded. No one's with toxic and creosote with their fences, nail varnish and 5 million cosmetics that are out there. The world was a different world, even 100 years ago, never mind 200 or 300 years ago. So the remedy that worked then will no longer work. The world changes. So classical homeopathy diminishes in its effectiveness. It's still a valid system if you find people in the world who are unaffected by modern civilization. You go to third world countries, you can treat people with a simple remedy, bang, like a miracle cure. But the rest of the world has all this in us. If we're the produce of IVF or birth control pills or steroids, a man's been on steroids for 20 years, someone's got soybeans or a low sperm count and the child's born slightly deficient, cleft palate, malnourished. People are getting weaker and weaker every generation. They're inheriting stuff from their parents and grandparents. These people didn't exist in Hahnemann's era. So what Hahnemann did, he did a great service to let us learn about homeopathy and create a system of medicine. And he himself said, you need to evolve this as your patients evolve, which is why very few people read the 6th edition. They stop at the 5th, because it took about 20, 30 years between the two, kept it a secret, and then he died. But then he moved with the times. He experimented with potencies, whereas classicals get stuck. Oh, don't use any higher. It will cause an aggravation. An aggravation means everything comes out all at once. So if my patient says I've had an aggravation, good. Instead of doing it in dribs and drabs, you got all that crap out, pardon my language, all in one go. Now you're done. Go and celebrate. Then they talk about words like healing crisis. I've never had a patient come to me and say, Sam, I'm healing, I'm in crisis. It's an oxymoron. I'm healing, I'm doing great, good. So where's the healing crisis? What crazy words, same as social distancing. Are we social or are we distant? So the words healing crisis are done by people who are not thinking. And then we adopt their language and we start saying the same. I don't want to go too high because it might cause an aggravation. Well, if you understand homeopathy, if I go higher in potency, there's more and more of less and less in that potency. So what am I scared of? Because when I succuss it, I'm diluting it. So when I go higher in dilution, there's nothing there. So am I afraid of nothing? The fault lies with me, not with the system of homeopathy I'm learning. So this is a common sense approach. So our homeopaths go out in the world and spread this word like this. And then they get the same questions. And then part of our job is to help the patients understand. You are on your journey. Something happened that made you unwell. We are simply the facilitator. We're not a guru or a healer. We're not your savior. You will save yourself. We will point you in the direction and give you the tools. If you choose to do it, on your way. We are tuned to listen to your body. That's our speciality. You come and talk to us. We will listen and will help you fix yourself. It's that simple. It keeps the ego in check. And yes, and we do create miracles and we can cure people of the incurable conditions that the allopaths say. And I always say to everybody, if the body can produce it, the body can reduce it. Words to remember. I've got arthritis. I've got cancer. Yeah, I'm doing cancer. If I'm doing it, I can undo it because now I own my own actions. How do I undo it? Let's travel through your life timeline. Let's take your case and find out all the things that happen to you to make you manifest this. Okay. And now let's try and work backwards in that. And when we do that, we reassure our patient, we bring them on board mentally with us, so they're going to be more confident and compliant and participate in their side of the bargain.
Yeah.
That's the way we do things. Okay, I'm just going to have a look, see if there's any more questions. Any others here? No? So people are just giving some comments, that's fine. People saying they use yoga. We can prescribe yoga. You can prescribe a walk. You can tell someone to go on after it's raining and walk barefoot in the rain, in the soil. Why? What does the rain do? It mineralizes the water. Things come up. Go out after a lightning storm, when the lightning will electrocute the whole earth. The scientists call it the earth is now polarized, ionized. Go out and walk after a lightning shower and feel your body energized. Simple things that people don't do anymore. Go and walk in the forest and inhale all that oxygen. Eat chlorophyll and spirulina. There's no such thing as a superfood. It's just food. The only thing super about it is people talking about the internet all day long. And I don't need to travel to the outer Mongolia to find some kind of strange ginseng that works wonders. Every country has its own native herbs and foodstuffs that will heal you. That's the way the earth works. If it didn't, people in them countries would all be dropping dead, wouldn't they? So we don't need to look for this exotic solution on a web in a far-flung corner of the world that we pay £6 million to get over. We don't need that. You'll find it in your own backyard, in your own garden. Go to your native where you are, you'll have all the answers. The other thing we tell people is, if you want to eat your way to health, eat what your grandparents did, skip a generation. Eat that and you'll restore your health much, much quicker. I'm going to share another one I learned that I do all the time because I'm back from the allopathic background, the medical world. Doctors always tell us, don't eat salt, sugar, and fat. Okay, everywhere we hear, low fat, low sodium, everything. Now in our body, in the biology side, we have sodium channels and calcium channels that create most of our body processes. They make our heart beat. Then the doctors tell me not to have sodium. But then when I have a heart attack and I'm in an ambulance going to hospital, they put a sodium drip in my body and they make sure it doesn't run out. When I'm on the operating theatre, I get a saline solution, a sodium drip, infusing my body non-stop. They say don't have sugar, it makes you fat. But then I get a glucose drip in my other arm when I'm on the operating theatre to make sure my glucose don't run out. So when it comes to saving my life, salt and sugar are essential. But when I turn on the TV and turn on the internet, don't have salt and sugar. Am I going to believe the people in the ambulance who saved my life or people who get paid to talk crap on TV? Common sense. So it makes you flip everything that you hear in the world thinking, what's going on? What am I being fed? My own body needs salt and sugar to survive. The brain can only survive on glucose. It converts things. The body can make anything into glucose because that's how essential glucose is. And they tell us not to have it. So common sense. So our learnings and teachings involve this as well as the lessons, everyday common sense. And you think, okay. So I'd go far as saying our students are enlightened students and they just talk common sense. And when patients listen, they go, that makes sense. Right, anyway, let's see if there's any more questions on the chat room. I'd like to know how you can help children with type 1 diabetes. Yes, we can. Bring the case forward and we'll show you how to help them. You'll learn in the medical field now, even diseases that are incurable, people are finding. Because what they've learned is the body can regenerate itself. They even tell you that if you smoke, after 5 years, your lungs go almost back to normal. Emphysema can be reduced just by stopping. So the first thing is if you're in a hole, stop digging. If someone's born with that, we can go back and see that and help that. Can you cure it? I don't know. Some people do, some people reverse it. Even the medical field's aware of this. So we come into these challenging things. My answer is the medical field cannot do it. So at best, we do nothing. Sorry, at worst, we do nothing. At best, we can get an improvement. So we shouldn't put homeopathy and say, let's challenge it. What can you do? We do that every day when patients say, as Ellen said earlier, I'm a last resort. I come to you, nothing else works. Good. Now we start with hope then. Because you've come to me hopeless. Now let's rebuild you back up. So people say, can you cure what the medical field can't? That's one system. It cannot do it. That's okay. Can we do it here? Let's have a go. Because when the minute you tell someone, I cannot cure you, all you've done is take away that human's hope. You've dashed anything on them, then they already feel like they're dying. And the vital force declines, and before you know it, they've manifested death. Why would we ever want to do that to someone? Oh, I'm being honest. I'm being objective. Really? I don't know your body. We see miracles happen every day. I'm sure you know people who have cured themselves of things even like cancer. We see it on a daily basis. It reverses, it regresses. And the doctors say it must have been a mistake. You saw a tumor, now you don't see a tumor, and it's a mistake on your machines. I don't think I want your machines anymore. I'll go with how I feel. Thank you very much. So
I can give you a little story. When my mother had a stroke, I arrived in Ghana. She was totally paralyzed. She couldn't talk. She couldn't walk. Nothing. And she was in bed. And I did what I always wanted to do for her, was to take her drugs and dump them down the toilet, which is what I did. And then I put her onto homeopathic remedies. In 1 week, she was up, walking and talking again. We then went back to the hospital and we sat in front of the consultant, and he said, he took her notes out and he said, I can't believe, Mrs. Kramer, that you're here and you're walking. And he said, oh, we must have misdiagnosed you. And he took the notes out and he scrubbed out the diagnosis. Okay.
Ellen, you were there with me 6-7 years ago when my own mother had a stroke. I was on the way to the hospital, phoned Ellen, and my mother she had a stroke. She's gone there, face paralyzed, arm paralyzed, body's paralyzed. She said, my son's on his way. The doctor's scaring her. You've got to take this medicine. You're going to have that. You could have another stroke. You've got a clot in your neck. It causes you a hemorrhagic stroke. It causes you a thrombosis. You will die. She was shaking when I got there. I had to give her arnica and aconite, 50 and multiple doses to calm her down. They stabilized her. The next minute, she said, I don't want any medicine. My son will look after me. So they put a big form saying patient refuses to take medicine. And they discharged her. They didn't even keep her in for 2 days. They just discharged her like she was nothing. She was jogging with me in the park 3 months later. She's paralyzed. She was jogging. And I show my students the video. I say, here's my 73-year-old mother jogging in the park. Now tell me homeopathy doesn't work. She told the doctor, take your medicines. And I won't repeat what she said. And she will show them. I don't need them. And she was old. They frightened her. You won't live another day. You're already old. You're going to die. I don't think I want to go to a hospital ever again. If you're going to tell me news like that, go to hell. So this is every day. This is our own families. It's not makeshift, make-believe people. Our own family and friends treat this way. And when you have that knowledge and power, you're thinking, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to learn this. Anyway, let's see if there's any more questions on our chat. Otherwise, we're almost done.
I have another question.
Sure, far away.
Have you ever heard of a gallbladder growing back after someone has had it removed?
I haven't personally, no.
I haven't personally. But to me, nothing surprises me.
Yes.
Nothing surprises me. I've had people who've had supposedly had their thyroid removed, and the thyroid tissue starts to grow back.
Yeah, mine grew back. My thyroid grew back. I just don't have an example of a gallbladder. I was just wondering.
No, I've not.
So Lisa, your living example of someone mentioned diabetes earlier. You are a living example of the body's ability to regenerate when stimulated. I'll give you a story. A couple of years ago, we had a lady with a prolapsed uterus. She had a mesh in there. The mesh had dislodged, and they couldn't fix it back. And they said, we'll have to give you a total hysterectomy. She didn't want that. She came to me. We treated her. The mesh fell out. The uterus didn't prolapse. It went back intact. And the doctors couldn't understand it. She goes, it's a miracle. When you help the body heal itself, this healing power within the body heals. If I cut myself shaving, I will heal. When a woman has a child, her body goes back to normal. It goes back. We break an arm, it sets back. There's a healing power inside us. If there was no healing power, nothing would heal. We work with that. Simple. When we're told that you don't need that organ, cut it out. Well, nature doesn't make mistakes. If you're spiritual, God doesn't make mistakes. You don't see cows and sheep with 3 heads and 6 udders, do you? And yet children are born, Siamese twins, fingers missing, jointed hands. Well, how's that? It doesn't happen in nature as much. Why is that? So when people say this is not needed in your body anymore, you don't need your appendix anymore, let's take out your tonsils. You're going to take out my first line of defense when I inhale something. That's about, no, thank you, I'm all right as they are. But they keep getting swollen because they're working. A swelling means all the white antibodies are there to fight the infection. Oh, why are you taking out my first line of defense? I might as well open my door and let the burglars come in and rob my house. So it doesn't make sense, does it? So doctors talk nonsense, cut it out. Why? My body wasn't designed to be cut to pieces. It was designed to regenerate itself. You break your nail, you don't cut off all your nails, you let them heal and grow back. So when you have this thinking, it's a mindset. The world is different. And you look at the allopathic world and say, okay, there's a place for you, but not in my life. You come to that journey yourself. And even our medics who join us, obstetricians, gynecologists, dentists, if you're in England, the Harley Street doctors that train with us, they leave their practices and set up homeopathic practices because they say, I can't go back to do this anymore because the mind, once stretched to a new dimension, doesn't regress back to its old way of thinking. There we go. Any other questions from anybody? We're done on our questions here, Ellen. We had one
Right.
last one here. Someone says, if someone wants to do just the certificate level,
They're welcome.
will they still learn about nutrition anatomy? Yes, you will. But all you learn is 3 or 4 methods, and you won't be qualified to treat anybody. If that's all you want to learn, you're welcome to learn. Okay.
Well, that's interesting.
Isn't that interesting? So anybody else want to ask any questions before we sign off? We'll give just a few more moments. My friend's son has tonsils removed, lots of antibiotics, now type 1 diabetic. Oh dear, that's all I can say. So exactly what we were talking about. Wouldn't it be better to not remove the tonsils? And swollen tonsils are so easy to treat. You'll do it in a couple of days. That's how easy they are once you know how to do it.
But also, one of the things people don't know is antibiotics are diabetogenic. They destroy the Langerhans cells in the pancreas.
Yeah. It's things like this that we learn, you see, Ellen. When people are on antacids, proton pump inhibitors, lansoprazole, omeprazole, people are on beta blockers for blood pressure or angina. They are diabetogenic. They cause diabetes. They cause kidney failure. It says in it, do not use for more than 3 months for an antacid. People have been on for decades. And then say, oh, I've got stage 3 kidney failure. I know you have. Your own patient form says do not go on for more than 3 months. But doctors don't even do this, prescribe it every month and away they go. And like I said, it's a long-term drug addict effect. And it wears the body down. But then the person who looked after your stomach, your gastroenterologist says, I did my job, I'm great. Now I send you to the nephrologist, the renal physician, because he's going to deal with that part of your body. Well, that part of the body is because of what you gave me all them years ago. And like Alan said earlier, homeopathy is the only thing that can detox allopathic drugs very effectively.
And also from previous generations.
Yeah.
So, we look at epigenetics, it's what the epigenetic inheritance. So, we're looking at miasms, we're looking at drugs that people pass on to their children because they didn't realize that all of that toxicity would go to the next generation. And as a practitioner, you need to understand this as part of your observational skills. That, when you're asking questions from your patients, you're going to be asking what drugs their parents took before conception. That will make a difference to the constitution of the child. So there's lots to learn, but once you learn it, it's great fun, and you keep learning over and over again. So with the ladies talked about her son with tonsils and the antibiotics, that would be considered an iatrogenic disease. The diabetes was iatrogenic, and there's a lot you can do to support him.
Okay. We had a general question on the course someone's asked on here. One just said, how long until we hear back after submitting an application? Normally within 24 hours, unless it's the weekend. We get back to you straight away. Why should we wait if you're keen to study? Somebody else said, can you deal with Lyme patients without antibiotics? My answer simply is yes, we can, but you have to enroll to do that. This is in the Lyme course. That's what I'm saying. When we teach you how to understand how you get from health to ill health, we don't teach you how to deal with it. We teach you how you can deal with it yourself. That's the whole point of it, okay? That's why you come here to learn. So, okay. Any other questions for anybody else?
Looks like we're good.
I've enjoyed it. And every time we do this, we learn more and more.
Oh, somebody said they submitted something on the 28th.
Someone said the 28th. That's about 8 days ago. Please send it direct to me if you've missed it. I will deal with it by tomorrow. You have my guarantee. So my email's on here. Send it direct to me again, and we will address that. Okay. No other questions at the moment. Any of the people that we can see? We'll have a few smiling faces. No? All right.
Brilliant.
Like I said before, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, Ellen.
And I was just going to say thank you very much for joining us. I hope we answered your questions. Please get back to SOM or admin. And yeah, we'd love to work with you. It's all good fun.
Yeah. Any questions afterwards, just email us. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to stop the recording now. Hang on, there's another record. No, just a thank you. Thank you. We will stop the recording and end this meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening wherever you are.